Welcome back to the Lanterne Rouge YouTube channel and to highlights of Stage 4 of the Volta Catalunya 2021, the last mountain test with INEOS in the driver's seat with riders on 1st, 2nd and 4th in the general classification. This stage was 167 kilometers long from Ripoll to Portenay, finishing at about 2,000 meters altitude. Two Category 1 climbs, the first of which in the middle of the stage was not particularly steep, just very, very long, the Port del Canto. And then the final climb was 18.5 k's at 6.6% with quite a steep section in the last 1,500 meters. With INEOS dominating GC already and none of the other teams realistically having any threats to put pressure on them in the mountains, it was definitely a stage that the break could have won. And in cycling, we rarely see the battle at the start of these mountain stages for the break to form. Bora trying to get Zvihov and Schelling in the break, Tolhoek for Jumbo-Visma there, Dan Martin and Wout Poels. And INEOS were policing the front with Rowan Dennis, trying to see who's getting into the break, how close are they on GC, are we happy with that breakaway? Eventually one did form with Tolhoek, Uran, Attila Volta, etc. But the big problem was Leonard Kemna on Bora Hansgrohe had got into that breakaway, only a minute and 30 back on GC from Adam Yates, so INEOS had to chase pretty much all day. Leonard Kemna will not be on Luke Rowe's Christmas list, I don't think. Kemna attacked the break early on that second long climb, and then Castroviejo was pacing for INEOS with their full train setup on that climb. He had a gap of about 3 minutes 30, 3 minutes 40 seconds. Chris Froome beginning to drop halfway up that climb with the altitude hangover from après-ski at Val Thorens earlier in the month. For the other GC contenders, there really wasn't much they could do. Simon Yates hasn't showed anywhere near the level of form he had at Tirreno Adriatico on the Prati di Tivo stage, so Kemna crested that second climb with about a 3-minute gap. The break was somewhere in no man's land between him and the peloton led by INEOS behind. They had a pretty quick highway descent before the last climb at Portenay. There was a short valley as well before that climb where INEOS with Rowan Dennis waiting in the wings would surely put a lot of time into Leonard Kemna. And that's really been the story of this race. INEOS controlling the stages exactly as they want. They've got the best climber in Adam Yates and they've got easily the strongest team. So they cleaned up that main breakaway group in the valley before that final Portenay climb, and they didn't actually catch Leonard Kemna before the climb, but Rowan Dennis was way fresher and brought back Kemna after about 4 k's. Adam Yates immediately getting on the blower. And now the question was, what would INEOS do? They've brought back Leonard Kemna, and we heard from Dave Brailsford last year that they want to ride in this new exciting fashion. When you've got the 2-time world champion in the TT climbing like this, and then the next man to pull a turn who's not even in contention for GC is Richard Carapaz, winner of the Giro d'Italia, then it's choo-choo train time. Because Adam Yates is 50 seconds plus ahead on GC. There's no need to make this stage any more complicated than it has to be, and the train is the most effective way of keeping all the other GC contenders from trying to do anything. And all they can do with a slight headwind on this climb is just sit behind this INEOS train and hope they don't get dropped. Until Richard Carapaz, probably the most exciting part of the middle of this climb, he misshifted, dropped his chain, and we thought, oh no, what's going to happen with Geraint Thomas, Richie Porte and Adam Yates? If they're going to have to sacrifice one of their GC positions. But Thomas pretty much just rode tempo on the front, whilst Richard Carapaz quickly got his chain back on and sauntered back up to the group until Stefan Kruijswijk, who didn't look good on stage 3 at all, attacked when Carapaz was trying to move back up. And sure, I'd love to see it. The pace had gone down and INEOS were looking vulnerable perhaps for a period of 30 seconds, but in hindsight, yeah, it wasn't the best idea for Stefan Kruijswijk because Carapaz just went straight back on the front and brought him back, and then Kruijswijk got dropped about 3 minutes later. But the big move of the day was with 7.5 k's or so left on this climb. Esteban Chaves, coming from deep, climbed so well on the stage before, attacking in the face of Richard Carapaz. And people saying, oh, Carapaz not in great form. Well, he pulled for like 10 k's or so on this climb today and kept it all together for INEOS. Enric Mas attacking with like 2.5, 3 k's to go for Movistar, but still, Carapaz still pulling at this point. He kept the gap to Chaves at no more than 25, 27 seconds. And now that Carapaz had left all the INEOS GC contenders so close to the finish, just over 2 k's to go, Porte and Thomas just rode their own selected pace to limit the gap to Esteban Chaves on GC. They brought it back to about 13 seconds with 1k to go. They brought back Mas, who then got dropped. But INEOS weren't interested in sacrificing one of their riders' GC positions to bring back Esteban Chaves, who's climbing better than we've seen him climb in almost 2 years. His last win was at the Giro d'Italia in 2019 when he was out of GC contention on one of the mountain stages, and today he attacked in the face of the INEOS Trident, who were just about 7 seconds behind him at this point, finally dropping Almeida with 500 meters to go, bringing Thomas probably up into that third position on GC. They couldn't catch Esteban Chaves. Great to see him back on form with that big smile on his face, and it poses some difficult questions for Bike Exchange going into those Grand Tours. Chaves, can you trust that he will continue this form? Simon Yates, is there a more inconsistent rider in the World Tour? But anyway, behind Esteban Chaves, the GC group was largely together, but for Almeida losing some time in the last 500 meters. Koos, Kelderman, Port, Valverde, Quintana, all there. Esteban Chaves winning the stage, 7 seconds ahead of Mike Woods, ahead of Thomas third, taking some more bonus seconds. Adam Yates, of course, staying in the leader's jersey, 45 seconds ahead of Richie Port, 49 seconds ahead of Geraint Thomas. We now have an INEOS 1-2-3, which is Valverde 14 seconds behind Thomas in fourth. Perhaps that could change if Valverde has a really strong stage in stage 7 on the Montjuic circuit around Barcelona. But let's hear from Adam Yates on this stage that didn't play out exactly as INEOS wanted it to.
Yeah, it was a good day. Yeah, we were happy with the break at the beginning, and then I think it was Cam that jumped across, and he wasn't so far down on GC, so we had to pull all day, and we had to pull harder than we wanted to. So in the end, it was a hard day. Not just for the guys riding, but just for everyone in the wheels as well. It was a really hard day. But yeah, in the end, I just had to follow the guys. They did a real good job, and I just sat there and went to the finish. So all in all, perfect day.
So I think INEOS having to work a lot harder in this stage. As Adam Yates said, they didn't seem to be too fussed, or he didn't, about the stage win. I definitely think Adam Yates could have taken this stage if he'd attacked on the final climb. The fact that Leonard Kemner was up the road meant that they couldn't just let the break go, which I think was their plan, which plays into what I think will happen for the next stage in stage 5, which is 193 Ks from La Pobla de Segur to Manresa. It doesn't really have too much for the GC contenders. 2 main climbs, the first 8 Ks at 5.2%, and then the second 7.3 Ks at 6.7%, but it crests about 24 Ks from the finish. So I think INEOS will be happy for a breakaway to go up the road and take this. And before Catalunya started, I thought this breakaway was designed perfectly for Marc Hirschi, now moved to UAE Team Emirates. He showed in the Tour de France last year that he's strong enough to attack breakaway companions on the climbs and then TT away to the finish. But if he doesn't get in the breakaway on stage 5 today, I'll be very surprised, and that'll be a big tell into what Marc Hirschi's current form is like on this stage, which I think should be a big target for Bora Hansgrohe. They haven't got too much out of this race so far. I think they should have used Schelling more as their main guy in stage 1, and I think he's a big contender for today's stage. So look out for him if he gets in today's break. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Like it down below if you did. Honestly, I don't think there's too much any of the other teams can do to upset INEOS or Adam Yates at this point, but we can only hope going into the last few stages of this year's Catalunya. But I'll see you with the highlights of stage 5 tomorrow. Ciao.